So let me ask you something. You've got 3 months of expenses sitting in your savings account right now, maybe 6 if you've been really disciplined. You sleep better at night knowing it's there, you feel financially responsible, you feel safe. And meanwhile, that money is earning you what, 0.4% interest? Maybe 1% if you shopped around for a high-yield account? Here's the uncomfortable truth. That emergency fund you're so proud of, it might actually be one of the most expensive financial decisions you're making right now. And I know that sounds completely backwards, so stick with me here. My name is Ansh, and I spend way too much time thinking about how the safest feeling financial decisions are often the ones quietly draining our wealth. If you're someone who's been told to save 6 months of expenses before doing literally anything else with your money, and you're wondering why you still feel broke despite doing everything right, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up because we're about to completely reframe how you think about emergency funds. Here's the thing, I'm not saying emergency funds are bad, they're not. Having cash you can access when life punches you in the face is absolutely critical. But there's this massive gap between what financial advice tells you to do and what actually makes mathematical sense for your situation. And that gap is costing you thousands of dollars, maybe tens of thousands. Let me show you what I mean. The average American is told to save somewhere between 3 to 6 months of expenses. Let's say your monthly expenses are $4,000. That means you're sitting on $12,000 to $24,000 in cash. Now you might be thinking, Ansh, that's the point. That's my safety net. And you're right, but here's what most people don't realize. While that money is sitting there making you feel secure, inflation is eating it alive. Last year, inflation was running at about 4%. Your high-yield savings account may be giving you 1% if you're lucky. That means you're losing 3% of purchasing power every single year. On $20,000, that's $600 just evaporating every year. For a decade, that's $6,000 of value just gone. And that's assuming inflation stays low, which, look at the last few years, is not exactly a safe bet. Now look, I can already hear some of you saying, but Ansh, that's the price of security. That's the price of being able to sleep at night. And I get it, I really do. But this is where it gets interesting, because the question isn't whether you should have an emergency fund. The question is, how much should you actually keep in cash and what should you be doing with the rest? Here's what blew my mind when I first learned this. A study from the National Bureau of Economic Research found that most financial emergencies aren't actually "I need $20,000 by tomorrow" emergencies. They're "I need $2,000 this month" emergencies. Medical bills, car repairs, your laptop dies, your dog eats something stupid and you're at the emergency vet. These are real emergencies, but they're not liquidate everything emergencies. The actual data shows that 94% of unexpected expenses are under $5,000. 94%. So why are you keeping 6 months of expenses in cash when the vast majority of emergencies could be covered with a fraction of that? Now you might be thinking, okay, but what about job loss? That's the big one, right? And yes, losing your income is terrifying, but here's the psychological trick your brain is playing on you. You're preparing for the absolute worst-case scenario while ignoring the guaranteed loss happening right in front of you. You're so focused on the possibility of needing all that cash that you're not seeing the certainty of that cash losing value every single day. Let me give you a real example. My friend Sarah had $30,000 in her emergency fund. She felt great about it, responsible, secure. Meanwhile, she had $18,000 in student loans at 6% interest. I did the math for her. She was paying over $1,000 a year in interest on those loans while her emergency fund was making maybe $300 in interest. She was literally paying $700 a year for the feeling of having a bigger emergency fund than she actually needed. Here's what most people don't realize. Money has a job to do, and when you assign too much money to the job of sit there and make me feel safe, you're leaving other critical jobs unfilled. Jobs like eliminate this debt that's charging me 6%. Jobs like grow in an index fund for my future. Jobs like generate actual returns that beat inflation. This is where the psychology gets really fascinating. There's this concept in behavioral economics called loss aversion. We feel losses about twice as strongly as we feel gains. So the idea of not having enough emergency savings feels incredibly painful, even if mathematically we'd be better off with less cash and more money working for us. We're optimizing for emotional comfort instead of real financial reality. Now look, I'm not telling you to throw all your money into crypto and hope for the best. What I am saying is that most people need to completely rethink their emergency fund strategy. Here's what actually makes sense for most people, and this is based on both the math and the psychology. First, figure out your real emergency number, not the scary 6 months number someone told you. Look at your actual fixed expenses, not your lifestyle, your fixed expenses. Rent, minimum debt payments, basic food, insurance, utilities. For most people, this is way less than their total monthly spending. Maybe it's $2,000 instead of $4,000. 3 months of that, $6,000 instead of $12,000. That's already $6,000 you can put to better use. Second, think about your personal risk factors. Do you work in a stable industry or a volatile one? Do you have a partner with income? Do you have family you could stay with if things got really bad? I know that last one isn't fun to think about, but it's part of your real safety net. If you're a single freelancer with no family support, yeah, you need more cash on hand. If you're a dual income household with stable jobs and family nearby, you need less. Third, and this is crucial, create layers in your emergency fund. Keep 1 month of expenses in your checking account for immediate access. Keep another 2 to 3 months in a high-yield savings account. Then, here's the part that makes people nervous but changes everything. Keep the rest in something that's liquid but actually grows. A conservative index fund, a bond fund, something that's accessible within a few days but isn't just sitting there losing to inflation. Now you might be thinking, but what if the market crashes right when I need the money? Valid concern. Here's the thing though. If you lose your job during a market crash, you still got 3 to 4 months of cash to get through the immediate crisis. And statistically, most recessions last less than a year. Your investments might be down, but they're not gone. And here's what people forget. Keeping all of your emergency fund in cash means you're guaranteeing a loss to inflation every single year. You're choosing this certain loss over the possible loss. Let me show you what this looks like in real dollars. Let's say you've got $20,000 in your emergency fund right now. Under the traditional advice, it all sits in a savings account. Over 10 years, with inflation averaging 3% and your savings account giving you 1%, you've lost about $4,000 in purchasing power. Now, let's say you keep $6,000 in cash for immediate emergencies and put $14,000 in a conservative portfolio that averages 6%. Even if you have to tap into it once or twice for emergencies, over 10 years, that $14,000 could grow to over $25,000. That's real money. That's a down payment difference. That's retire a year earlier money. Here's the action step. This week, look at your emergency fund. Calculate how much you have. Then ask yourself, what's my real emergency number? What are my real risks? Where could I put some of this money so it's still accessible but actually working for me? And if you've got high interest debt, student loans over 5%, credit cards, anything like that, consider this. Paying off that debt is building your emergency fund. Every dollar of debt you eliminate is a dollar you don't need to come up with in an emergency. That credit card charging you 18%, paying that off gives you an 18% guaranteed return. Show me a savings account that does that. Look, I know this is uncomfortable. I know it goes against everything you've been told about being financially responsible. But here's the truth. Financial security isn't about following rules that made sense 30 years ago when savings accounts paid 5% interest. It's about understanding the math, understanding your psychology, and making decisions that actually build wealth instead of just making you feel safe while your money slowly becomes worth less. The people who build real wealth aren't the ones with the biggest emergency funds. They're the ones who understand that money sitting still is money going backwards. They're the ones who protect against real risks while not overprotecting against unlikely scenarios. They're the ones who make their money work as hard as they did to earn it. So yeah, keep an emergency fund, absolutely, but make it the right size for your actual life, not the hypothetical worst-case scenario that probably won't happen. And then take the rest of that money and put it to work. Your future self will thank you. If this completely changed how you think about emergency funds, hit that like button and subscribe because we've got a lot more financial assumptions to challenge. I'll see you in the next one.